I want to do something just a little bit different here. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of one of the jurors that are up there, and, theoretically, they're not supposed to be looking on social media to refresh their recollection over this long weekend, but let's be completely honest, not only are they discussing what they've seen during the trial, but they're also, just going back and forth and really just thinking, who made the biggest impact on me? Okay, when I was listening to the testimony of the different people that are up there, obviously, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, probably, regardless, you're supposed to give everybody's testimony the same amount of weight, but there are so many people over the course of 7 weeks total, 6 weeks of actual court time that have come and gone and made little to no fucking impression. So, what are we gonna do? I went back in my mind, and it's like, who did I actually recall? And I got like a half dozen of people that are up there, okay? At least the people that have made an impact that aren't Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, okay? They'll probably be tomorrow, okay? Some of the more impactful statements that they made during their direct and cross-examinations and their rebuttals and everything like that. So we'll do that tomorrow. What we've got right now is just some memes and then some people, okay? And then we got specific instances from those witnesses that were up there and what they immediately make me recall about their testimony. And then of course we got a heaping helping of memes as well, because this one's just absolutely fucking hilarious if we're being completely honest, right? So you take a look at what Amber Heard's writing, or at least alleging to write. Some people have theorized that, oh, maybe it's just not picking it up on from that camera angle, right? And she just has her pen. Let's just go ahead and scrub a bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, she's writing very visibly right above the paper. So yeah, she only started, like, for a very long time, if you guys remember, during the court proceedings, okay? She was just sat there, just staring off into the universe, looking at the witness or looking at the jury, but she always just had that very stoic expression of, I don't exactly know what, because that's a terrifying mind to try to put yourself into. Depending on how the testimony of the certain witnesses were going, she was either thinking about how she could inflict the most pain on them possible, or if they would make a fine next victim. But eventually she started writing post-it notes and writing above her little notepad there in order to make her seem astute. And once again, because she doesn't have a personality of her own, she noticed, or somebody brought attention to the fact that Johnny was keeping himself busy. I think it happened just after, okay, she was on the stand there for her case in chief. She went up there and noticed that Johnny, constantly kept his head down. He was actually writing and drawing, and you've seen some of his little posters, or his little post-it notes, sorry. I don't think he's brought an entire canvas in there, at least I missed that if he did, but he was always being productive with his time, okay, and also, handing out candy as well. But Amber, on the other hand, she's not that creative. Well, and Johnny really could probably sell a bunch of the stuff that he was drawing or writing down over the course of the trial, but Amber should really look into that business model as well, because she's going to have a couple of $1 million that she's going to have to figure out how to make appear out of nowhere. So anyways, on to the witnesses, the ones that made impressions, at least in my opinion. One of the very first ones, this is Ben King right here. Remember, he worked for the Queen of England. He was in charge of the Australian residence. He set everything up, okay? He was the house manager, right? But the most important and the most impactful thing that happened during his testimony, well, I think everybody remembers this. Let's just run this back here real quick, because it's absolutely fucking hilarious.
Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?
Dr. Kipper told me he'd sustained an injury on one of his fingers.
Objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh,
Next
okay.
question.
He said he sustained an injury to his finger.
Motherfucker, that's your own question, stupid. So everybody caught that, because even the judge was like, it's your own question. I got this sustained, I guess. I don't really know what we're doing here. I've never seen this before from a, like a bar licensed attorney. I've seen it play out before in like a people's court, but what exactly are you doing? So that immediately came to mind. It's like when I was thinking up how we're going to structure this video, this is totally different than what I intended. I was thinking that there might be a list, at least by right now, because even over the weekend, this is still number one. Oh, behind all all of the grandstanding when it comes to Udevale, but other topic for another time, okay? But the Johnny Depp trial is still, front and center in everyone's mind. But as for a list of, most impactful witnesses, I didn't see one. So, thanks to mainstream media, well, when they're not just trying to spin a tale of how Amber Heard is still going to be a victim, but don't call her a victim, just, continue to push her story because all domestic, abuse victims just make baseless claims, a lot of them don't show up with actual evidence, and when they do produce the actual evidence, not just the photoshopped or color saturated adjusted pictures, you should probably believe the ones with, tangible evidence, but that's all right, just believe Amber Heard, because if you don't, that's denigrating to all other abuse survivors, right? Cool. Try to keep this somewhat cohesive with the timeline. Okay, Richard Marx, I think you might remember him. He was one of the expert witnesses for Johnny Depp's side. He's the dude who's done every deal in Hollywood since the beginning of time, and probably several even before that. I think he helped Mother Mary get royalties for the Bible, but what does everybody remember from his testimony? Well, a lot from his rebuttal, probably. That could also be recency bias, of where he tore down Catherine Arnold, who I didn't bring up for her because she's just really worthless, but Amber Heard's expert, who said that, oh yeah, Amber's scheduled to win, or she should have made $40 or $50 million over a 5-year period after Aquaman, when she was third or fourth bill. Okay, sure, whatever. But when Richard Marx originally came up to the stand, he was talking about the impact of the implications of domestic violence on an individual and what that does to them in Hollywood. Regardless, even if they're at the top of the list when it comes to ranking A-tier celebrities, like Johnny Depp was at the time, even though he had since probably peaked and he maybe was on a downward trajectory, but he was still making films, okay? He still had Pirate 6 in his back pocket, and looking for high-quality actors in today's landscape, it was pretty fucking barren. And even back in the cut, it was still, the new roster of kids coming up, it's still barren, okay? Just imagine with the crop of superhero films that are out there right now, how Johnny Depp would have slot into a Marvel film or something like that. It might have actually made it worth it viewing in some form or fashion. But regardless, we don't have that timeline right now, and by the time that Johnny makes it back into Hollywood, even though he's apparently signed a fairly large project, perhaps, maybe, potentially, superhero films might be out of vogue. But let's just run back what Mr. Richard Marx here was saying the first time around, and how he really drove home the impact of the editorial. The Washington Post op-ed saying that, yeah, no, that was absolutely the inciting incident that led to the death of Johnny Depp's career right now.
And you don't know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp will be in Pirates of Caribbean 6. You don't have a crystal ball, is that right?
Objection, speculation.
That's the same retard who didn't know what an objection was.
Go ahead, you can answer, sir.
Well, as an expert, of course I don't have a crystal ball.
And Pirates 5 did not make as much money in the box office as the prior Pirates movies did.
$800 million plus.
That's true. It only made about $800 million.
It made less, though, than the first 4, correct?
No.
Yeah. And any company,
the first one
any
was the
company
lowest
would
grossing.
want to have a box office hit that made $800 million.
Now,
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, I can't see where's this article from. I just see the headline.
Oh, you're right, when they were running back all of those stupid articles.
So the Daily Mail is a UK publication.
all right, let's
It's funny, right? I'm just going to pause this for a second. Remember, the entire predication of the counterclaim from Amber Heard's side is some statements that were made by Adam Waldman, published in the Daily Mail. I like the Daily Mail, and I use it as a source multiple times during the course of my coverage. It's just doesn't hold the same weight in mainstream outlets as even the very, very discredited Washington Post, okay, the New York Times, which is self-admittedly an opinion rag as well, but it's not at that upper echelon, okay, and it posts. I think they do good work, but at the same time, who am I, right? But you get that torched, you already have that all laid as groundwork from a guy who's incredibly credible, okay? I don't think anybody's going to be disputing the fact that this dude's been in the business, okay, cutting checks, making deals, writing up documents for the better part of, 4 or 5 decades, okay? He knows his stuff, all right? And if he's calling it a rag, well, I guess it's a rag, right?
You know or not?
Do I know what?
Do you know if it's a UK publication or not?
He's not an expert on publications.
I think the Daily Mail is, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So it says, quote, Johnny Depp is Hollywood's most overpaid actor for the second year in a row.
Good for him.
Recall reading that?
Was that written by the second underpaid actor? Or?
Was negative publicity
He was so good on Cross. I don't know if you guys recall.
Harm. That's what you're saying?
Well, I don't agree that this article was not about
Did it mention Mr. Depp? That's what I asked you.
Oh, no.
Well, does she have another husband who abused her?
But did it talk about it? Did
Exactly.
it talk at all?
2 years ago, I became a domestic violence survivor. Oh, wonderful.
Wouldn't you agree? You'd agree that in January of 2015 there was an article and you'd agree that there was another article in 2015 and you'd agree that there is an article in Business Insider.
If that's what it said, it said. Are you just going to keep reading?
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
Mr. Depp's reference, and you don't know.
I love headlines. Everybody loves headlines. What does it really accomplish? Nothing. Like I said, trying to keep a cohesive narrative here. We also had another, I think she was an expert witness. She was very meme-worthy, but also incredibly credible, right? Dr. Curry, Dr. Shannon Curry, very attractive woman, right, of course, but then she also knew her practice from toes to titties. Didn't intend for that, but that's the analogy we're going to use, all right? No, she probably fairly accurate diagnosed Amber Heard with borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder very early in the case. I think that this was day 2 or day 3 at that point. But you know, Amber would just go out and over the course of the trial continue to reinforce that diagnosis. And instead of trying to rebut any of those claims, what did Elaine come across on cross-examination? I know yesterday we ran a story about her crying after court, which still is like, yeah, no, you took on a client that was going to ruin your life. You got sold a bill of goods. Unfortunately, you could have walked away from it, but you know, this is what's happening right now. But instead, just once again backing that up, and I also made another claim in that video as well that she's not a very good lawyer, and yet this was reinforced again because on her cross, when she could have tried to, you know, elicit any sort of credibility check, what did you go? Oh, you're not board certified. Well, yeah, no, I've only been practicing for 15 years. Don't worry about it, okay? I've got my license and all that stuff, but I'm not board certified, whatever the fuck that means. But again, when you had all of their expert witnesses that were up there were some of them, especially the data analyst, okay, didn't really want to probe too hard on his credentials now, did you? No, I did like a weekend course when it comes to analyzing some data. Don't worry about it. But then at the same time, you had Norbert across from there, who was like, oh yeah, I remember when we first invented the photograph taking apparatus. And oh yes, I had my very own helicopter and we went up into the sky and we videotaped everything. And we even loaned it out to the police department. It was a wonderful time. And he, yeah, eviscerated all of the different data that went on in the background of some of Amber Heard's pictures. But yes, of course, we're not going to be talking about those because for me, that's what I remember. But for your average jury member, okay, unless they wrote that stuff down, but then, yes, they're always going to have all of the evidence that was admitted to the court, okay, accepted by the judge for them to peruse at their will, okay, they can see all that stuff. But when it comes to the witness testimony, all they have to do is just go back and rely on their notes. Same with the video depositions and all that stuff, okay, all the video link stuff that was recorded, yes, very much by a bunch of different outlets that were there, but they can't go back and actually watch anything that was testified to in court. They get the evidence, they don't get the testimony. They have to rely on some of their notes that they have there, and they can't give it more or less weight, but you can also weigh your own credibility, and you can choose to either accept some of the evidence that is there or discount it, okay? That is totally up to the purview of the jury members, okay? Every single one of them. But regardless, what sticks in their mind? Well, some of the more highly publicized moments, and I think Elaine's cross of Dr. Curry is going to haunt her until the end of her days, because instead of focusing on the diagnosis, and it's like, well, you didn't run all the checks, right? Why didn't you probe a little bit deeper? Because we have an expert that's going to be coming out later in the trial who is 30 times less likable than you and is just an absolute sped at multiple points. We'll be talking about her shortly, but instead, what does she focus on? Well, let Elaine talk for herself.
So the question that was asked was because you brought muffins, you said, from your husband, right? You gave those to Miss Heard,
Motherfucking
correct?
muffins.
May I
clarify what occurred so that we can stop talking about the muffin?
And that stupid video's got some copyrighted work that probably wouldn't get claimed, but I'd just much rather stick to, actually court recording. So let's run that back one more time.
Why did your husband get the muffins for Amber Heard?
He did not get the muffins for Amber Heard.
Yeah. The muffins.
He knew you had a high-profile client, and you were preparing for a very long time, and you asked him to pick up the muffins, correct?
I asked him to pick up the muffins
Enough
for me.
about
Yes.
the muffins. Fucking crazy cat lady. Are they a little bit crunchy? Were they white fish flavored? And then the dude that had everybody rolling when it comes to video depositions. Most of the video depositions are 1,000% unmemorable. Like, I know Amber Heard's nurse, Erin Filati, had a video deposition. That's all great and that's all wonderful, and all of her testimony was recapped several times over, especially during Amber Heard's examinations, both times over, okay? But there is one that probably sticks out in everybody's mind, because nobody remembers any of the video depositions. Christ, I did a fucking video recapping all of it, and I can't tell you everybody that was there, except for one, but we'll run that back here in a moment. But there was one video deposition in particular that came up during Johnny Depp's case in chief, and it involved the man who was vaping and driving his car around at the same time. He was even referenced in Camille's closing argument, a man who had to take his video deposition in his car because he was working at the time, okay? Somebody else, a working class man who even knew that Amber Heard was a lying piece of shit. Now, apparently, my man's out here on the tiki-talkie, which you should get off of that because the fucking platform's AIDS. But got a new hit, and I said we're going to be doing some court-specific stuff, and then we're going to look at memes as well. This lays somewhere in the middle. All right, I haven't looked at this yet, so this could be a total disaster, but let's run it back real quick, shall we?
Is it because I forgot to make faces and pretend I was crying?
Based Alejandro.
Why are you asking me about makeup? I don't know anything.
That dude's great. I don't remember anything that he said during his video deposition. All I remember him was taking a big fat rip off of his vape, which he very nicely and very kindly brought with him to this TikTok. But yeah, no, exactly. Him dunking on Amber, chef's kiss. But let's run it back to Amber Heard's case in chief. You guys remember the first person that came up during her case in chief, Dr. Don Hughes. Again, just a massive affront to that name on multiple levels. She got so pissy when she couldn't just read directly verbatim from her notes. Well, I ran like 12 checklists and I can't remember all that stuff, and that was so long ago. Even though, the CAPS 5 test didn't get administered until 10 days after. Dr. Curry ran hers, and you're like, oh fuck, I might as well do that because I'm the smartest person to literally ever practice psychology, literally fucking ever. So I don't know why they'd make me do that. Even though when you did it, you didn't administer it properly, you fucking stuck up cunt. But her getting butthurt over the fact that she couldn't read her notes verbatim, yeah, let's just reminisce on that one because that sticks out in my mind. Okay, her saying, oh yes, Amber Heard has PTSD and it was really terrible, and she exhibits 19 of the 20 symptoms. Did PTSD, panic attacks, all of the I know you can't see night terrors, even though she looks like she just fucking probably sleeps standing up as well, but I don't know, anxiety attacks or anything like that. Did Amber exhibit any of those when she was in court whenever the camera cut over to her? No. Or did she hire somebody who her very own daughter said, and I can't believe that's a situation, and I haven't looked specifically, but I don't know if Don Hughes got a sperm donor or if she's recently divorced or anything like that. I just couldn't imagine another man in her life. She was probably already triggered because there were so many of them in that courtroom. But no, she loved to throw around anything that would reinforce her expertise of intimate partner violence, because when a man does anything, it's literally violence. This bitch. But yeah, no, the jury will get all of her tests and all that stuff, so they'll have the opportunity to at least read through the notes. Meanwhile, yes, I'm sure Dr. Karen is probably fleecing somebody else, you know. The woman who couldn't cite a specific case that she consulted on where a man was a victim in a relationship, okay, and the perpetrator was a woman. Well, I can remember many cases. One of the first cases I consulted on was a male victim who was beaten by another man. Oh, okay, cool. So, only men can be victims, but intermittently, depending on the type of relationship they have, then a man can be a victim. Oh, okay, cool. Wonderful. Fantastic. Anyways, yeah, no, let's just run this back, you crazy Karen. Yes, read through her notes. Don't do anything specifically. Johnny's like, hey, that bitch is fucking reading. You need to object to that because she's doing a little bit more than the recollecting. It's like this bitch, this activist bitch. Oh, well, she probably made mid to aggressive 5 figures for this case, and, you know, good on her, let the grift flow. I said most of the video depositions were completely and utterly unremarkable, but the guy at the center of the counterclaim for Amber Heard is Adam Waldman, one of the attorneys for Johnny Depp that got magically thrown off the case. I know that it's a very nebulous reason why he's not on the case specifically, but the fact that he didn't, you know, break his attorney-client privilege after multiple questions, hey, could you go ahead and do that for me? And then Ben Jew would cut in, I would go ahead and advise you that you shouldn't comment on that situation. And then he said, I will take that advice, and then would just eventually, at some point in time, get into the fact that, yes, Amber Heard, he had acquired a rather large binder full of information that would lead to the perjury charges of Amber Heard, and that he also talks to a couple of social media users. Let's see what he gets into here, because we got 2-minute clip of this. This ought to be fun.
Who are the eyewitnesses that 29 or so that you referred to in the text to Christian Carino, that you believe disprove Ms. Heard's claims of abuse by Johnny Depp?
A little bit better.
On May 21st, 2016, and I always view this as one of her central claims. It was the one she put on the cover of People magazine. 2 police officers,
People
one
magazine,
domestic
fake
violence trained female police officer, who've testified over and over and over that there was no damage to the penthouse.
Can you believe she played this during her case
destroyed.
in chief?
That's a direct quote. Destroyed. 9 other witnesses.
I guess you have to, right?
The majority of whom are either neutral or actually, well, Ms. Heard's own witnesses. Laura Divineer, Melanie Inglesi, Hilda Vargas, Samantha McMillan, Isaac Baruch, Trinity Esparza, Cornelius Harrell, which meeting was captured on CCTV also, Alejandro Romero, and I think Brandon Patterson. I should even distinguish, because we're talking about the notion of a hoax. These people specifically have given testimony that Ms. Heard was uninjured between the 21st of May up until
where'd those bruises come from, sweetheart?
26th of May.
Bruise kit, right?
As to that incident, Thanksgiving, perhaps 2013, I think those videos and photographs, yes, demolished her claim.
And in that statement, you say that LAPD have now opened up a
here's the binders full of
perjury.
information.
Correct?
Yes.
Did you make a correction to RTL when you learned that the LAPD wasn't, in fact, investigating Ms. Heard for perjury?
Well, the way you've characterized it is not exactly what I would agree with. LAPD told me that they were investigating the perjury claim.
Sorry about that.
Then sequentially came the statement. Then came notification from the LAPD that it was actually the LA Sheriff's Department that was investigating it.
Remember how that was characterized in closings? That, the LAPD is not investigating Miss Heard for perjury. And then, like we heard there in his words himself, actually, the people who investigate perjury, that's the LA Sheriff's Office. Oh, okay, cool, wonderful, fantastic. And again, yeah, I don't have it pulled up, but that was the first instance that the Umbrella Man that umbrella god, he got brought up and named as one of the people that Adam Waldman talks to, and one of the people that continues to haunt the dreams of Elaine Bredehoft. Then we got this goofy motherfucker right here. You guys remember this? Yeah, you consult Willy Wonka? Yeah, literally. Amber Heard paid for this. Paid for that mouth cleaning that he delivered on the stand. And that was the expression of everybody, because how could you take a professional like that seriously? You could also run it back, right, and take a look at some of his professional reviews and realize that he's really shitty at his job. Like, may or may not have led to the self-deletion of some of his previous clients and then didn't give a fuck about it afterwards, but I'll just let you do some extracurricular activities when it comes to researching what Dr. Spiegel, make sure you have the proper spelling on that one, Speigel, I do believe. Make sure that his picture is attached to the certain reviews that are out there, because there's another Dr. Spiegel in the field of psychiatry who is accredited and is affiliated with Harvard Psychiatry, okay, Harvard Medical. That's not him. That guy's actually credible. This guy is actually incredible for many reasons. I'm moving along to rebuttal, of course. Then you got, Kate Moss coming up, because Amber's goofy fucking slip of the tongue during her direct examination, because she just could not let sleeping dogs lie. She had to bring up Kate Moss. So guess what guess what Johnny Depp did? Bring up Kate Moss. Let's run it back just a little bit.
Please continue.
And I screamed because I was because I didn't know what had happened to me and I was in pain. And he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Yep.
Did Mr. Depp push you in any way down the stairs?
No.
During the course of your relationship, did he ever push you down any stairs?
No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
Ms. Moss, have you ever... Please.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yep, no, exactly. So the Kate Moss stair incident where allegedly Johnny Depp pushed her down the stairs, didn't it all happen like that? And it came directly from somebody who has zero interest, doesn't want any of the money, okay? And then doesn't need the 15 minutes of fame that was so famous in a bunch of different clips out there, okay? That's what Bredehoft would go ahead and accuse Morgan Knight of. And then famously and regrettably for our good friend from TMZ, Morgan Tremaine, well, to hilarious effects.
You know this case is being televised, right?
I am aware that there are cameras.
And so this gets you your 15 minutes of fame, doesn't
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
I can ask that question.
Overruled.
She will regret this.
So I stand to gain nothing from this. I'm actually putting myself kind of in a target of TMZ, a very litigious organization.
1000%.
And I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here.
Yep.
So you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
Boom! A little argumentative, don't you think?
Oh, hardly. I find that to be purely logical. Thank you.
Now, are you...
No, based. And that's exactly what I brought up yesterday. It's like Amber Heard walked into Elaine's law office, laid out this very logical case, okay? She thought that she would have a slam dunk, okay? The face of Me Too, one of the ambassadors of gender-based violence, or did it transition to that at that point? One of the ambassadors of the face, the very pristine face, unless you take a closer examination at it, and she has more pockmarks in the surface of the moon. But no, she was one of the hallmarks of the Me Too movement, thinking that this would be so simple, but then not, of course, realizing that the facts made this an incredibly unwinnable case. And she knew it. She knew it in that moment right there. That's why she didn't really have that much to really argue. But at least to her credit, unlike a couple of other lawyers on her team there, she didn't at least object to the response from Morgan Tremaine. But I want to run back one of the very first people from the very first day that came up and took the stand. Somebody who really made an impact on everybody watching the case. He was mentioned several times during the trial as well, okay, especially during closing arguments, as the one guy on the witness or in the witness stand who actually cried real tears, okay, didn't, gesticulate like they were trying to formulate some sort of an emotional response, but somebody who actually had a breakdown, because this trial has affected more than just 2 people. It has affected many people's lives, and he encapsulated everything on the very first day.
So many people have been affected by this malicious lie that she started and she created. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not right what she did and what happened for so many people to get affected from this. It's insane.
And Mr. Baruch,
how this happened.
Yep. No, exactly. He painted a tale of, Johnny Depp's generosity, okay? He was the only person, at least the only person testified to by multiple different people, that lived in the Eastern Columbia building, one of the penthouses there, that was actually a friend of Johnny Depp. This is somebody who he has known since like the mid-'80s, okay? From back in the cut, worked at the Viper room as well, and then painted a bunch of hilarious stuff, which I'd love to show you, but just check out his Instagram out there, because it's definitely not safe for YouTube, and we'll just go ahead and throw that out there. But he's just seems like a really likable guy, okay? He actually got Amber Heard to smile I was gonna say for the only time in the trial, but then she would go on and just smirk and be hysterical on her own in order to try to distract from the very, very damaging testimony that was happening at the time. But he set the tone for the case, okay? And I think if people are trying to remember what type of witnesses were up there on the stand, he's got to be front and center. He at least is for me. When I was thinking about doing this video, okay, the people that actually showed up in the courtroom who were impactful. Like, I remember Whitney Heard being up there. I don't remember what she testified to, okay? I remember a couple of the experts that were called. I don't remember anything that they were experts in, okay? I remember Isaac Baruch because he was compelling, he was funny, and then, yes, he got emotional. But everything that he said was believable. Was it true? I don't know. It seemed like it was backed up by multiple people, okay? And that's what's at the center of this case, all right? You can believe Amber Heard, okay? Or you can believe Johnny Depp, or you can believe everybody who testified on behalf of Johnny Depp.
But this case doesn't come down to whether you believe Ms. Heard or you believe Mr. Depp. This case comes down to whether you believe Ms. Heard or you believe Mr. Depp, Christy Dombrowski, Sean Bett, Malcolm Connolly, Travis McGivern, Starling Jenkins.
This is so brutal.
Keenan Wyatt, Dr. Kipper, nurses Debbie Lloyd and Aaron Filati, Tara Roberts, Ben King, Kate James, Kate Moss, Dr. Colber, Morgan Knight, Morgan Tremaine, Officers Melissa Sines, Officers Tyler Haddon, Officer William Gatlin, and Beverly Leonard.
Brutal. Exactly. So, played some clips, played some memes, had some laughs, and really just put a bow on all the witness testimony that was up there. That's what I remember. That's at least what I would be recalling once the jury comes back to start their deliberations or continue their deliberations. They gave it a, the old college try on Friday. They went in there for a couple of hours and probably just took a show of hands. It's like, what does everybody think? Oh, you guys are all on Johnny's side. What do you think for damages? We're going to take the weekend to figure all that stuff out. So what do I think? Probably in on or around either just before lunch or, depending on what they're going to be serving, maybe a little bit after lunch. But I think we're going to get a verdict on Tuesday. So tomorrow, if I can figure out exactly the way that I want to formulate this, we'll be going over the two people central at this trial. But these are the people contemporaneous of the actual subjects of this case. Those are the people that made an impact on me. Maybe your recollection's a little bit different, okay? That is just what I consider what an average juror would have remembered, would be able to recall if certain names are brought up. With all of that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.